So the other day I made this tweet that turned out to be quite controversial. Hot take, K-Vess is actually kinda hot. Not sure why this is a hot take. This blew up way more than I was expecting to. At the time of recording this, it has over 100,000 views, and it was received an incredibly mixed response in the comments section. Some of which is hilarious, and some of which is pretty painful to read. From the initial marketing of Star Wars Outlaws, people have been complaining about the appearance of K-Vess, stating that she should look much more like the actress that plays her, Umberly Gonzalez. And what's also interesting, K-Vess's appearance has actually changed multiple times throughout the marketing of this game. In the first trailer that released in June 2023, this is what she looked like, and then in the final trailer that released only recently, this is what she looked like. Now, you could potentially say they did make some intentional changes here. However, I just want to point out that that first world premiere trailer is in fact CGI, whereas I believe the more recent trailers and the version of K-Vess we get in the game are in-game cutscenes. There's a difference. But there was also a bit of inconsistency in the game itself with K-Vess's appearance. Some of the cutscenes are CGI animated, whereas others are using the game engine, and there's an obvious difference between her appearance in these. But that's beside the point. People think K-Vess is ugly, some think she looks fine, some think she should be hotter, whatever that means in this day and age. And some of this is also due to the graphical inconsistencies with her facial appearance throughout Star Wars Outlaws. For example, during certain cutscenes, she looks pretty good, and then other times looking at her face in-game, there's a clear graphical downgrade and something going a bit wrong here. Now, like I said, there's also a huge argument online that she should look a lot more like the actress who plays her. For example, Cal Kestis looks a lot like Cameron Monaghan. Starkiller looks a lot like Sam Witwer. Iden Versio in Battlefront 2 looks a lot like Janina Gavankar. So I think people have come to expect this trend in Star Wars games and are basically accusing Ubisoft of downgrading Umberly Gonzalez and making her look worse for K-Vess's appearance. Hey everyone, it's Andrew. But what's interesting about this is that K-Vess's appearance was already seemingly locked in before Umberly Gonzalez was even involved in Star Wars Outlaws and bringing K-Vess to life. And Umberly has confirmed this a few times on Twitter herself, stating K had already been created before I joined. I brought her to life through movement and voice and of course her heart. Then there's this other tweet that Umberly replied to. I think the biggest problem is Umberly is the motion capture actor and voice. She is on the press trail doing publicity and everything in the game seems okay, but for some reason they have screwed up her face and the character looks nothing like her. She looks like she is on meth. To which Umberly replied, I loved bringing K-Vess to life. She's a scoundrel, rough around the edges, broken nose, scars, sun-kissed. She isn't supposed to have my likeness because it's a video game and a character. So yes, Cal Kestis may be based on Cameron Monaghan's likeness. Starkiller may be based on Sam Witwer's likeness. But now let me give you some huge examples of characters that don't look like the actors who play them. Joel from The Last of Us does not look like Troy Baker. Ellie does not look like Ashley Johnson. Snake does not look like David Hayter. Nathan Drake does not look like Nolan North. John Marston does not look like Rob Wheathoff. Arthur Morgan does not look like Roger Clark. And if you want a Ubisoft example, if you think this is a Ubisoft specific problem, Desmond Miles from the Assassin's Creed games does not look like Nolan North. His likeness was actually based on Francisco Randez. But with K-Vess, I think I do need to state that it seems like they had her original character designed and then made her look a bit similar to Umberly Gonzalez. You can see there's definitely some likeness between the two, but if you look at some of the earlier trailers and footage, she looks a bit more different. So I think they've tried to bridge that gap a little bit. But also, just as Umberly said, K-Vess is supposed to be pretty rough around the edges. She's not supposed to look like a model. She's supposed to look like a rough scoundrel living in this world with scars, who's had a pretty messed up life, who's lived it a bit rough. And a lot of people blame her hairstyle for the way she looks and the fact you're, I guess, not attracted to her. This, however, is based on hairstyles from the 70s and 80s, which is the era of Star Wars they're trying to recapture here. Star Wars Outlaws is set between the events of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. They're going for that 70s Star Wars vibe that I guess we saw in the original trilogy. Here's the thing, no one had a problem with how Ellen Ripley looks from Alien. Her hair in a lot of ways is similar. She also doesn't wear makeup and also is a bit rough around the edges because of how she's living and what she's been through. But no one has a problem with how she looks. But just to take things a little bit further, I've installed FaceApp on my phone and we're going to edit K-Vess's appearance to see if that changes anything for you guys who aren't satisfied out there. The thing is, this is not the character K-Vess is supposed to be. Okay, already I've applied some makeup to K-Vess. It's given her eyeshadow, some lipstick, changed her eyebrows a little bit, and you can definitely see, I guess, a bit of a difference. Okay, we've also just given her long hair. She does still largely look like K-Vess. This app is pretty cool in what it's able to achieve, but there's a definite difference here. Would you guys prefer if she looks like this in the game? Does that feel realistic for Star Wars, that someone should look like this and wear makeup and have long hair? Maybe we'll make her smile as well. Is that better for you? You'd play as this character in the game? The problem I have with this is that she's not supposed to be this character. Like I said, she's lived a rough life. She's a scoundrel. She's a thief. She's not supposed to be a fashion model. But yes, I can also hear you saying that Star Wars was never supposed to be realistic. It's literally sci-fi space fantasy, where they're in a galaxy with mystical space powers, can travel between planets, there's lots of aliens. It's the most unrealistic thing possible. Then let's take a look at some of the other women in Star Wars then. Okay, Princess Leia. She looks like this. She's a princess, not a thief, not a scoundrel. What about Padme? She's the queen of Naboo and a senator. Her role in the Star Wars galaxy is different. I think perhaps it's fairer to compare K-Vess to someone like Jyn Erso, who is also a little bit more rough around the edges. Yes, different hairstyle, yes, different appearance, but these things are just stylistic differences. And I think, honestly, the overall thing to remember here is that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What you think is beautiful or attractive or interesting is not necessarily what someone else might find beautiful, attractive, or interesting. People have different tastes, people have different likes. Yes, I'm not denying the game has some graphical issues, and at times K-Vess can look a bit odd. But at the same time, I think it's a bit absurd reading things like, her face is an abomination, and they purposely did it. The real actress is beyond a goddess in the beauty category. What? Also, because I know I'm going to get those comments for making this video, I have to state, in no way have Ubisoft told me or paid me to say any of what I've said in this video. This is my own opinion, and most of the time, I really don't think K-Vess looks bad at all. She's pretty fine. Also, some of you told me to go touch grass in the comments of the tweet. So, am I doing it right, guys? Am I doing it right?